BIC episode number 85. We are 9 days away at the time of recording, 8 days away by the time you see it, to the Nacional. Eric is preparing his comfortable shoes. He's not going. Brandon is preparing, to have a lot of water. He's not going either. And I'm in house arrest, so I can't be there. The point is, between 8 and 9 days, it will be happening. So we'll talk more about that next week. This week, we've got a couple of quick hitter topics, and then we'll talk about the topic of quote unquote, I'm going to put in quotation marks, hobby burnout. Maybe we'll burn out on that topic before we finish it. That and more on this episode of the BIC podcast. There you go, Eric. Air guitaring, finishing it off. Well done, well done. So, like I said, we got a couple of quick hitter topics, and I wanted to introduce a fancy new segment, which could be a weird card, a shitty card, a combination therein. But I've got a couple. So first one actually is more in the category of what I'm talking about. The second one is just kind of interesting. It's a little weird, but it does have a little historical context, and I think it's kind of inadvertently interesting. I saw that. So let me share the first card, and we'll describe it so anybody on the audio side can get a hint at it. So let me start off with this one here from the eBays. This one is... Yes, the eBays. And this one is a playoff of what we had already talked about. But, Eric, this is one better version, and it aligns the Venn diagram of this podcast. Here it is.
Okay.
It is the wild card illumination dynamite, but it is the T-Rex. The T-Rex chasing Brett.
Oh, God.
I can't even hate on it. I kind of like it. And I'm not even a dinosaur person, but I kind of like it.
It's not a T-Rex, it's a velociraptor.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. A velociraptor.
No.
So Eric, making sure we got our correct dinosaurs here. But the point is, it's a dynamite out of 10. Chasing Brett. It's so colorful. So colorful.
Oh,
very, very colorful. If you're colorblind, unfortunately, this is not going to do much for you.
Oh.
There's not going to be much going on over here, but there are a lot of colors. I can assure you, there is a lot of colors going on here.
The one thing I'm going to have to nitpick is why did they go with the MIGHT spelling? And is that a trademark little symbol next to it?
Mm-hmm.
So they trademarked this spelling of dynamite.
Yes, maybe they did. Or at the very least, they're showing a trademark mark for it. So
okay, now it's just funny. Now it's just funny.
Jimmy JJ Watkins line.
Yeah, that's right. So that right there is a very special card, indeed. That one, since it was not autographed, they're asking a mere $70 for it.
Oh,
might be a little high. Yeah. It is out of 10 in the dinosaur foot, so there's a thing.
Oh my God.
Look, I don't mind the idea. I actually wouldn't mind getting a copy of that, but I'm gonna need that price to come down. I'm gonna need that price to come way down, my dudes, way down.
If someone gave me that, I wouldn't keep it.
Well, listen, I happen to think that there's a real possibility that someone is going to send something your way that might involve some Leaf type products, but that's neither here nor there. I've heard rumors. I have inside sources that revealed to me that such a thing may occur. Now, that's the first one. And that one is from 2023 Wildcard Illumination Dynamite trademark. And the Velociraptor, not the T-Rex. My apologies.
That's the Velociraptor.
So, that's the first one. Second one. This is actually from Upper Deck. And Upper Deck has released some photos on their Facebook page for the 23-24 lure, which will have Connor Bedard. So get ready to get smacked with some more Connor Bedard to your face.
Oh, good.
It's been a while.
Enough.
Yes, it has. So that's the next series that's going to include Connor Bedard in it. I could describe to you a bunch of the inserts and things in it. That one is very much a parallel heavy product. But one of the inserts that's involved in it is what's called the color flow. It's actually a pretty neat insert. I have that in the Allure AEW, and I've collected some of those cards, and they're actually pretty neat. But one of the images caught my eye because it's kind of an interesting one. So this one is more interesting, I'll say. I'll put it in quotation marks because I haven't seen one of these used too often these days in a lot of the sets, and I'll share that with you. So here it is, Eric. the Allure color flow of the Stanley Cup,
Okay.
which is a little bit. There have been history of the Stanley Cup cards.
Yes.
Once in a while, they will invoke it. I think 70, 71 was one of the years they invoked it. I think they invoked it in a year in the 60s, if memory serves me as well. And obviously, going back a ways, Bobby, you could speak to this very clearly. There was another one that's like an even older card, but I remember the 70, 71 for sure because they had the different trophies. That was one. And then they had another one in the 60s as well. That was different trophies for sure. And so they've done it a couple of different times. And then obviously there's the infamous Pro Set hologram. That's an infamous one of the Stanley Cup. That's a very popular, like kind of, junk wax era, pull chase. So here it is. They've invoked the Stanley Cup to an Allure color flow. Again, if you're a big fan of the trophy here, it is kind of an interesting card.
So I collect cards with the Stanley Cup in it. And I happen to have had this book next to me, it just by chance, because you didn't tell me you were going to do this or show this.
The point is to give it by surprise. Come on, that was the point.
Here's a page of the Stanley Cup in cards.
Is this your non-Bruins PC?
This is a Stanley Cup PC. All these.
So these cards, so for the audio folks, it is 9 pocket pages with images that involve the Stanley Cup. So specifically, they're cards where maybe the player is hoisting the cup or holding the cup, that kind of thing.
And there's more here. And
got himself a whole binder full of them.
There's a couple more pages. And these ones were really good. It's the last one. These were all canvas, upper deck canvas. So if it had the cup in it, I grab them. Because they're usually not expensive cards. They're 10-cent cards.
Yeah, they're a cameo. Yeah.
Yeah. So it isn't like it costs me a ton of money, but I do have, some of the others and other more protective things and with sets, from the 70s and whatnot. But I would probably be interested in that as long as it wasn't some ridiculous price and it was just a couple of bucks. I would definitely want it, for that Stanley Cup collection.
Well, that's what I was going to actually ask. I'll be curious though, since the image showed 2 colors on it, I wonder if they would have a couple of the variants because usually they got a gradient. They start off with one and then go across. Now, most of the gradients, what I'm going to say that I think Allure does a good job of it, most of them are not super hard to get. Like they'll get like a base version and it'll be a little tougher. And usually the toughest version is like 199 copies. So it's not like this crazy, super short printed version. It's like, it's still fairly attainable. 200 copies is enough to satisfy most people. And they'll usually have like a one-on-one version, but most people don't care about that. Like if you like now, maybe somebody, I got to do the rainbow of the Stanley Cup. I got to have
to each their own. I wouldn't chase that. I would just want one.
You're a Bruins fan. The whole team doesn't chase that.
Oh, well done. But anyway, so I think though for the folks that just want a copy, I think the base version or one of the base versions will be fairly reasonable. I don't think it'll be too. But I thought it was interesting when I saw it in the images. I thought, oh, wait a minute, they don't use that all the time. That's kind of interesting. So that's what I want to do with the segment. So I was sharing with the guys that I would love if in your travels you come across maybe an interesting card, like say for example, imagine an AI generated goaltender being chased by a leprechaun, something like that. Very exciting stuff. That'd be pretty good.
Does it have to be new or can it be anything?
If you come across it, it's interesting for some reason, bring it. I think the criteria is just something interesting. I just want to see something interesting. And I think that'd be kind of fun, a fun little segment to kind of add to the show since we've been doing these episodes now for a little bit. And I just thought it'd be fun to add a little something. And maybe if we come down the road, maybe if we all end up finding a couple in a couple of weeks, down the road here, maybe we'll let the audience decide which one is the most interesting for whatever the backstory is or whatever it is they can pick for themselves.
I have a few in mind already. So
there you go. Perfect. So I thought that would be kind of fun. Now, let me move on here to a second thing. So this kind of plays into what we talked about in the past, and we'll get to the burnout topic at the end, but I wanted to share this with you because, obviously I mentioned on the show that when I pick up different things that fit different categories of the PC, I've got my different sections. But the Modano collection is still kind of the base. It's kind of the core element of the PC, even though over the years it's changed the way I've kind of approached it. But one of the things that I'm still very keen on working on is the 1990s checklist, because that's a piece that this checklist is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, I've got it broken down into these 5-year chunks, and the first 5 years is about 200 cards total. And out of about 200 cards total, I was down to 9. Then I was down to 8. Well, as of earlier today, I am now down to 7 because I was able to locate one of the items that was on that checklist, which is not expensive stuff. It's not like one of ones. By 1994-95, we didn't have any. So that wasn't a thing. It was more obscure, like weird issues. I talked about the Upper Deck hologram variant on the back, which is very obscure. You got to know what you're looking at. Otherwise, it'll look like any regular copy. But one of the ones was a Be a Player Roots card. And I actually still don't know the backstory of it. I'm assuming it's like a box set, or it's something that came that you got maybe in Roots stores, or it's giveaway. Like, I genuinely don't know what the backstory is about it. But that one actually showed up on ComC earlier today, and I noticed it. And when I noticed it, I was like, oh, what the hell? Well, I got to make it happen. So there it is. There's Mike Modano wearing an NHLPA sweater.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fashioning, being a fashionista.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is that on the back it says, Mike reports to training camp on time and in style in his Be a Player weathered crew neck sweatshirt. Hence the Roots part. So I'm like, really, it's NHLPA and Roots. That's the combination here.
Weathered. It's one today that's distressed.
That is right. As dumb as that is, guys, that was one of the 8 cards that I had remaining in the early part of the 1990s. That's one of the 8.
I can't. Now, I don't know what you paid for it, right? First time I'm
way too much, Eric. The answer is way too much.
I can't. I mean, that's a 10-cent card on a Be a Player guy in a stupid sweatshirt. I mean, that's in the 10-cent box.
It is if you find it in the 10-cent box. The problem is that it just doesn't come up. That's the issue. I ended up paying about $20 for it. Oh. And it goes into by the way, in the spirit of consistency, it goes into what I've said a million times. I'll overpay for shit all the time because I'm like, look, I need the damn thing for my collect. It's like, Carlos, there is no justification. There is no comp. There is nothing that I can link to it that would suggest to you that it should be $20. The answer is it's not $20. It was $20 to me because I need the fucking thing. That's the only reason it was. And that's the only reason. That's it. I had no other justification. I can't explain it.
I will not, because I'm already embarrassed enough that I paid as much as I did for this. I can't even say it in public, but I understand. When you're a player collector, your brain doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah. The reality is, once you're down to a checklist of 8 cards, it's like you're that close. You're like, and just every single time it's more and more difficult.
How long has it been since you've seen the last one?
I have literally never seen that card. I know what it is, but I've never literally physically seen the card.
All right. So you could take the hours that added up that you've looked and hunted for it, wipe that off the board now that you don't have to waste them anymore.
Yeah.
And it's worth the $20.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Look, I'm not trying to be flippant. My point to this is that I'm not trying to be flippant, trying to say that $20 is nothing, because obviously, look, man, you can buy some nice cards with $20. You can go find yourself whatever. That's not the point. The point is, it was worth $20 to me this one specific time, because this is a stupid card on this checklist that someday I want to be finished. And the only way that's going to happen is I need this stupid card as one of the ones that I need. So now it's down to 7. There are 7 more cards on this stupid checklist.
Are any of the others as simple as that one?
Almost. Oh, so I can tell you right now.
Hold on. You get your props. You get your props for that. I would have said stupid, cheap, asinine, ridiculous, but no, you went above all that, and I applaud you. Very nice.
This is coming from the
I want to appreciate it. I get it as a collector. He's admitted that it's a simple, silly card. So I didn't want to.
It's a ridiculous. It's a stupid card. I'm gonna tell. I will tell you it's a stupid card. It's ridiculous. I still don't know why it was made in the first place. I don't know what I know obviously they're mentioning the shirt, the sweater, but I'm like,
Right.
so was it at Roots stores? Was it? I actually don't know what the distribution method was. Did you have to buy it at Roots stores? Did you get a card with purchase? Like, I don't know what
You had to
the
buy
trick.
the weathered sweatshirt.
Obviously. So but that's the thing. I don't know how you would have even gotten the card in 94. I don't know how you would have done it. I have no idea. But that's the problem. Is like I hadn't seen the image. But as soon as I saw it, like ComC identified it correctly, and I went and double checked the number on the back of the card, and I was like, and obviously I don't have the card, so I'm like, yeah, that's the one. But I'm like, when I saw it, I was like,
well, my reason for asking was it kind of would have been a little more humorous, even if that's possible, to have made that the final one.
Sure. Well, look, just for reference. So what I'm gonna do, so what I'll do is I've got the list in front of me. I'm gonna tell you what the other 7 cards are, and you'll see that there is no like obvious. So 7 cards left on this section of the checklist. And again, there's other sections, but in this specific section, 94-95 Stars Pinnacle Sheet. What is that? I have no idea.
Pinnacle Sheet?
It says Pinnacle Sheet. I'm assuming it could be a team set. It could be like a promo that they handed. I have no idea. I don't know. It was made by Pinnacle, and it's a Dallas team
there's
issue.
There's probably no image of it.
Nope. That's the problem with this section of the checklist, Brandon, is that like I could tell you what they are, but unless you actually know what they are, like I'll know it when I see it, because I've looked at this checklist enough times where I'll stare at the thing to figure, but I have to identify then the item. Even if I see an image, I have to be like, okay, so is that actually the thing? I think it is.
There's somebody I know that probably would have these cards, crazy as it is, and he doesn't even do a lot of hockey, but Refractor Jones has so many random things.
Sure.
Because he just has so many cards. He might would have these.
I thought he only had refractors.
Oh, no. The man has cardboard upon, like, the amount of Jordans that man has. And I don't mean like fleers. I'm talking like just the name Jordan is absolutely insane. No, he does not have only refractors. He has cardboard.
Well, he needs to change his name then. I won't tolerate this.
That would be just awful, truly awful. So that's one of them right there. Next one after that is again 94-95 season. Stars again. It looks like a team issue. Hockey Caps with a K. What is that? No idea. No clue. Nothing. Next one after that is 93-94 Upper Deck NHLPA Roots, which is the card I just showed you. So that is the Roots card. That's the one I just scratched off this checklist. 94-95 Stars Score Sheet. So there's the Pinnacle Sheet, and then there's the Score Sheet, which I think it looks like a variant of the base card. So either Score and Pinnacle, it looks like it's a variant of some kind, maybe a different numbering, like it's something. Then there's the Pinnacle Sheet that's no numbered, that's actually a panel with Darian Hatcher and Dave Gagne. So it's a panel with multiple players.
I wonder if I have one back there. I wonder if it's a game.
It could be.
Promotion giveaway. I have one back there that was for the Lakers, and I have a Shaq that actually looks like another Shaq card, but the only difference, it's one of them weird things like you were talking about. The only difference, it's a perforated edge card, and the only difference is the amount of tear, like perforations on each side, is the only difference in the two cards.
Yeah. And it could be something that obscure. So, but I think hopefully you're kind of seeing my point here. What I'm getting at is that these, so I'll finish here, but then I'll make my final point on this. The last 3 cards are a 90-91 Upper Deck version of his rookie. So card number 46 is his rookie card. But there's a version with a hologram, little hologram on the back of the card is actually the 1990s baseball hologram. You can actually make it out based on the hologram. It is the same. If you look at 1990 Upper Deck baseball and look what that hologram is, it's the same hologram, but in 1990 hockey. They're using the same hologram, which has a little pattern on the back that you can identify.
And I've done the same thing with the Reggie Lumlin collection and the 1990 Reggie Lumlin card. is trying to get all the different, and it's also a Disney one, I believe, with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
ears.
that's the one I'm going to get to right now. It's called the Comic Ball. So the Comic Ball one, I think, has like a little carrot for Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. So that's the little thing on the hologram. So again, you have to look at the hologram. That's the only way you can tell. And that one is card number 346. So I need both versions of the Comic Ball. I need the rookie card with the Comic Ball and 346, which is like the first team all-star, subset card later on in the set. Both of those are rookie year cards. The only difference is the hologram on the back.
Yep.
So you literally have to know what you're looking for because they're going to look exactly the same as the regular one on the front. There is no difference.
And those are in 10-cent boxes at shows.
All of these. Most of the stuff probably could be in a 10-cent box. But the point is, it's not rare. It's obscure. It's random. It's like you literally have to know what you're looking. So in a nutshell, Brandon, that is why Carlos will pay $20 for a stupid NHLPA Roots sweater.
Because you don't know if you're ever going to see it again. That's just
and I'm sure it will, and I'm sure I will at some point. But the thing is, I've gone this long. So, and by the way, next week somebody could be like, "Oh, I got 50 copies of it." Like, look, dude, where were you? Where were you the last several years when I was looking for one? I just needed one.
Yep.
So, like, whatever. The good news for me is that I actually sold some stuff on ComC. So I'm like, oh, you know what? This offsets it. Great. I sold like $10 worth of stuff. At least it paid for half of it. So that's the only reason I bought it. So,
all right, let's see. Just by chance, I got two rookies and then that rookie insert there.
Yeah, you gotta basically put the hologram under light, and depending on what you see, that'll answer it. Because one of them has like a 91, one of them has a 1990. I forget. I've seen the image before, and one of them has the comic ball with a little carrot and something else.
This one says 90.
Yeah, so like literally the number 90 is free floating.
Yeah, it's upside down though, but yeah,
that might actually be the 90 version. So set that one aside. I got to take a look. I got to take a look at my other copy because I have the 346 and the 90 version.
And this one says 90, and this one just says upper deck. Yeah, this one just says upper deck, upper deck, upper deck.
That might be just the regular version.
Both these say 90 on them.
I gotta go take a look. Yeah. Anyway, so that the bottom line though is like that's basically how obscure it is. That's how silly and like minor and like so. Imagine you go to a card show and you're looking at a big old stack. You're gonna sit there and look through a big old stack of 1990 upper deck hockey to hold on. I got to stare at the back of it and I got to get the lighting just right. Like it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, how many people? I mean, I guess at the expo there's probably a lot more of it, but in most shows, how many people are bringing 1990 hockey with them?
Almost nobody. And there's really not much reason to do it. Like it might be sitting in some junk wax boxes or something, but like, I have no idea.
Graded, 10 rookie cards from 1990 people will bring and sell. Because Modano, Gure, Fedorov, Roenick. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You're at Yager. It goes on and on and on. So if you can get PSA 10s of those, you can bring those to shows and still move them because they're all Hall of Famers, right? Hall of Fame rookie cards, PSA 10, people will buy them.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of the thing you have to kind of look out for. It's tricky, but that's why I say like that's how silly and obscure it becomes at that point. And at that stage, it's like, well, good luck to you. Like, there's not much you can do. It's very difficult to identify. I have to take a look at the image I have on the one that I have, but they're a little tricky. But yeah, that's the entire checklist for the first 5 years, and it's all weird stuff. And some of it I couldn't describe it to you because I haven't seen one. So I'm sure I guarantee you they're out there. They're probably sitting in a pile of stuff that somebody's holding somewhere, but they're not looking at it. Like that's basically what we wind up. That right there is player collective problems. # player collective problems.
You got it. Stupid.
Yep.
But it makes it fun and it makes it a fun challenge.
But you know what it also does, though, in all seriousness? It also makes you much more appreciative at what are otherwise really stupid cards. No one is ever going to get as excited about a card like that except a player collector. The player collector needs it for that tiny checklist, and that's one of the few ones that's left. And you're like, oh my God, finally it's been years. I finally got to scratch that stupid thing off the list.
And if you wanted to find stupid cards, Carlos, where would you go?
Oh, we can find stupid and smart cards at amgcollectibles.ca and AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. Yes.
We could.
Well done. Well done by you, Eric. I was getting ready. I had the button. I was on my finger on the button. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric was on point there. Did you see that? Did you see that? Just saying. Anyway,
I want to throw this out there though. We've had this conversation in the past a little bit with the player collecting thing, but the excitement in spending $20 on a silly card of your favorite player, standing there with his hair slicked back and a sweatshirt, and the amount of time it took you, and the reasoning and understanding that we can have of why you spent $20 on that card. That won't be appreciated today. Because how many cards did you say he had in the 5 years of 19? Yeah.
So he's got about 200 because that's the first 5 years of his career. So it's early 90s, early to almost mid 90s.
Players are getting more than that in their first couple sets now. Because the way these companies have done with all of the parallels and everything, and then the inserts and the parallels of the inserts, and then the autos and the parallels of the autos, they're never going to be able to enjoy a silly slick back hair sweatshirt card to get into knock another in single digits of their favorite player collection. Never. They won't understand and appreciate that.
You're telling me there might be hundreds of Connor Bedard rookie cards? Is that what you're
thousands?
But
Sorry,
everybody,
your super collection dream is over.
But everybody went so crazy trying to get his draft day card and then his rookie card, his Young Guns card. You're telling me there's going to be thousands of Connor Bedard rookie cards?
Thousands might be a stretch, but
there might actually be close to that now. let me
I don't know where we're at on, but there's going to be lots.
I can ballpark that for us. Hold on.
Stop buying these things. It's a waste of your money. There's going to be so many of them. The market's going to get flooded.
We're approaching 700. We're getting close to 700 right now. And then that doesn't count Allure, which is going to have multiple, because that one has a lot of parallels. So there's
in the 4 years it'll take to get to the Cup, and
yeah, exactly. Like we're not even done the rookie year yet. Like we still got like 50 more sets to come out.
I seen I think Wes or somebody posted in the Discord today the football checklist for Topps, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Let's go look at it. And then I was like, wait. It says 2023. It literally has the rookie class for 2023. And we are sitting in July of 2024. Are we going to just continuously buy the previous year's products now because all of the companies are going to be behind? Like Topps is going to have to cash in on the catch up because, they got CJ Stroud and all those in that product, and they can milk it a little bit because I was like, wow, like, what are we not behind on now?
It is true. It is a fact. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. It's the way it worked out. But yeah, so just put a button on all of it again. I also want to thank AMGcollectibles.ca and the AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. You can definitely find some obscure items in there because they've got obviously different players that they sort out in some of the boxes. So they've got a lot of that as well. And we're going to be dropping another podcast episode tomorrow. And I can tell you that from the images I've got, there may be one or two Gretzky rookies that may make an appearance. One or two.
Those are rare.
Very rare. And by that, I mean a lot. And also, there is a collection of Brad Marchand cards that was acquired. A number of Brad Marchands.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's from the area. He's from Halifax. I bet you there's a lot of Brad Marchand collectors up there. And I would, and I'm saying this seriously, I will be looking forward to seeing that episode tomorrow. I hope you guys get a chance to show off some of the better Marchand cards that are available.
I have some lovely images, and the collection was over 500 cards and over 100 autographs. It was substantial, quite quite the collection. So we'll definitely showcase some interesting pieces coming out of that as well. So I was presented that by the Collector of the Scallops and the Collector of the People. So if you know, you know. Watch the episode.
Yep.
Yes. And we definitely will check that out. And if you're watching this episode when it drops, within the next couple of hours, that one will drop on the channel as well. So we want to thank AMG Collectibles for supporting the podcast and the channel. So we thank them for that. So believe it or not, in all that, we managed to talk for about half an hour just on the first couple of things and then got into a little collector's corner there. Let me touch on one or two more things, and then we'll actually get into the main topic here. Briefly, I want to talk about CGC and JSA. So they have a little announcement that they have. So I'm going to include a link in the description to this social media post that they have on that, and you can check out more details as well, checking out their website and such. So here it is. I'm going to read it quickly. CGC is bringing ahead of the national. They're bringing the announcement that CGC Cards is teaming up with JSA. They're going to offer combined services for TCG sports cards and non-sports cards. As of July 15th, so the day that we are recording, collectors can submit autographed cards for authentication by JSA and grading and encapsulation by CGC Cards in one seamless solution. The services are there just in time for the most prominent card collecting event of the year, the National. So basically, go check out the FAQ, go check out the prices, go check out all that. So basically a combined autograph and authentication service. You can check out some of the images and that on there. So you've got that on there. So I will say this, good on them. That's great. And it also combines what I still think is probably aesthetically one of the nicer holders. I like the holder. I think the label is clean, especially for, if you get the pristine one with the little gold thing on there. Personally, I like it. It does the job for me. But, to each their own. But I think it's cool that they've got a combined service. I think that's probably a smart thing for them to do.
I think if you're going to be in the discussion of the top 3-4 companies in the hobby, you need to have multiple weapons in your bag. You can't just be an authenticator. You can't just be a grader. You can't just say we're only doing Pokemans. We're only doing modern cards. You have to have as many weapons available to you to be able to be successful in this business. So the fact that they're adding yet another weapon to their stash is good on them, and that's going to do wonders for their company. It's a well-established name. I think with that name attached, I think more people are going to want to go there. And if they continue to keep their prices lower than PSA and Beckett, I would say people would start heading over there more to get the JSA sticker, which I think everybody respects and trusts. Brandon, what do you think?
I actually, obviously I have done SGC bulk submissions for 4.5 years now, or whatever it's been, over 4 years. But I've also been a CGC dealer. Now I have not submitted hardly anything to them because of their fee structures and all, the interest in them. But I have done some personal stuff, and I've also been a JSA rep, dealer, whatever you want to call it, because coincidentally, my original rep with SGC, Andy, when he left SGC, he got employed at JSA. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I enjoyed working with you. You're a stand-up guy and everything. Wanted to reach out and see if you'd be interested in doing JSA authentication services." So we have submitted some things for folks to JSA. It's kind of cool that now, because something that's been asked for a long time is with cards, would they ever be encapsulated? And JSA had said for a while, yeah, we're gonna have our own slab, yada yada. So now they're not just going to be able to have on slab, but your card can be graded and have the JSA authentication as well as a JSA autograph grade to it, from my understanding. I was looking at the prices, and it's not too outlandish. Without bulk service, and this is with no membership fee, a max declared value of $1,000. So that, in-person autos, that's going to be a pretty significant in-person auto, because usually those don't, go for two extremes of prices. But max declared of $1,000, it would be the grading fee of $14 plus the autograph authentication fee of $20. So it'd be $34. And that's on the economy level. There is a bulk level that's cheaper, but when you look at what autograph authentication alone costs, that's not bad, because I think their base rate for autograph authentication was $30 before. So, $34,000 declared value plus getting the card graded, encapsulated, all of that. I think that's before any membership discounts if you have a membership. So I don't think that's too terrible. I think I don't know how well ComC doesn't get a lot. Do they deal with the IP autos on ComC?
They have some that have been at least authenticated by a couple different things, because there is, I want to say JSA there. Well, actually, I think, doesn't Beckett have an authentication where you put in a semi-rigid? I know there's somebody who does authentication for autographs in a semi-rigid. Maybe JSA?
There's a CAS, Certified Authentication Services, or something like that. That's like a silver label on it. I know they're one. There's GAI that had like a foil thing. I don't think Beckett ever did. I could be wrong though. That I'm not 100% sure on.
I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'll take a look in ComC, because I've definitely seen some.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So they've definitely done those for sure. And there's also the silver version of that as well. So they've got those, and I think I've seen one other one as well. So I'm going to see if I can find the other one. But that one I've seen.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the CAS and I think GAI. I didn't know Beckett did it though. That's interesting.
Yeah, so definitely got those for sure. I swear I saw one other one.
I do want to
CAS.
CAS. Yeah, CAS, Certified Authentication Services.
Yeah, I've seen that one for sure.
One thing I do want to touch on about this is, this is great for them. Again, the company has all of the, pun intended, they have all the cards on the table. Like, they've done a lot of good things, but I think they lost that momentum when the whole green label, the 9.5, like there was a lot of things going on there. And it's hard to get that steam back up. Plus they came out the gate. I personally think for the period we were in, they came out the gate at too cheap of a price, and they got way behind way too quick. That's never a good thing, but I think this can be a good thing, because Beckett's lost trust with people. We've discussed that. And PSA, although they have trust, them and, Beckett, PSA, and JSA are the three main autograph people everybody goes to. And one of those was missing a slab, and now they have a slab. And so it can't hurt CGC, and it definitely can't hurt JSA. But to touch on it a bit further, we talk about Beckett screwing up so often. I think CGC actually was very freaking smart for rolling this out right now, because they've got time to let people get eyes on it. Going into the national, they can set up, they can take the submissions there, or have JSA set up at the national with them. They probably can offer it on site. And get people interested in hell. People can get signatures there at the show, take them over to the booth, get the cards authenticated, slabbed, all that. I think the timing and rolling it out now was very smart.
Yeah, no, I'd be inclined to agree. Like for me, what it comes down to is I like that they're adding another option, another
Hmm.
service. They're becoming a more well-rounded kind of all-encompassing authentication, service. They've got what's been a shame. You pointed out some of the issues they've come encountered. I do think some of that honestly is very petty stuff because realistically, like they've all screwed up. They've all had some slowdowns here. But I'm sitting there like CSG for all their efforts, or CGC for all their efforts. For the most part, I still think it has a decent product for what it is, and it's reasonably priced. So it's like I'm sitting there like the price is reasonable, the holders look nice. It's to each their own. But I'm like, so we're literally we reward Beckett by keeping them around. Lord knows why. I just assume it's Eric's influence, but for some reason we keep them around. But I'm sitting there like these guys are actually trying to do stuff. We complain that Beckett tries to do something that immediately backtracks. CGC has at least followed through on some of these things and actually done the thing. And on ComC, when I've got my wrestling cards, I get them graded with CGC because I like the way it looks in the holder and it's reasonably priced and the turnaround is reasonable. Like even through ComC, their base service is about it's 30 or 60 days, but I get it within that window at the lowest price tier, and that's bulk. I get my stuff back. It's simple, and then I get it shipped out to me.
They are a very unique situation because I've had this discussion with folks before. I really and there's probably going to be listeners, and you can comment below if you want to tell me I'm wrong on this,
Or
but
tell you that you're an ass.
that's fine too. But as being a dealer and seeing their pricing structure and having the membership options there to any general consumer, I think one thing that has held CGC back as well as even Beckett, and and I'm speaking on a serious note, not giving Beckett crap here, but one of the problems, Beckett has reached out to me and asked about bulk submitting for them. So I know what their fee structure is. It is virtually impossible to be a group submitter for those two companies because with CGC, the margin for a group submitter, a group submitter cannot be competitive and tell somebody, hey, I can help you. I can get your cards graded cheaper, easier, all of that, when they can literally go on and spend $150, get a membership, get $150 in credit. So the membership then becomes free and get a discount. You cannot compete with that price because you can't, the dealer discount isn't enough to be below what that person would be receiving as a discount, basically free. So that is something, and people can say, oh, well, not that many people use bulk submitters, blah, blah, blah. Look at SGC. They really started blowing up when they were adding so many bulk submitters. You know what PSA Canada did and everything. You know what some of the big PSA submitters do. The volumes there are, and it benefits the companies because of the processing of the orders. It's much easier to process a large order than little individual orders. So I really think one of the things that holds these companies back is the fact, who do you know that is a CGC bulk submitter? Who do you know that's a Beckett bulk submitter? Like, they don't exist. And it's because of the fee structure.
Yeah, and it does hold them back. Like your point is valid because PSA's bulk submitters send in so many cards. PSA Canada is just one example, and PSA Canada obviously has changed because now they're under collectors, so it's even more tied.
Right. But you knew prior.
Yeah, but prior to that, they were submitting a ton of cards. Like a lot of cards were going through this. Today, kind of what PSA Canada is today is it's kind of a dealer network that are pooling these cards. But the point is, a lot of cards are going through this network, and in turn, getting sent through that funnel. Before they were directly connected with collectors and strongly affiliated, lots of cards were going through that, and that's only one pipeline. Go to Got Baseball Cards, down south over in Georgia, near Geoff's store and everything. Even Geoff and those guys, got baseball cards as their bulk submitter. So in turn, whatever cards they're getting go to them. Other people go to them. So they're submitting a bunch of cards. Was it 4 Sharp
PC
Corners
Sports
submit?
Cards.
Yeah, 4 Sharp Corners submits a crap ton of cards. PC Sports Cards submits a crap ton of cards. Nash Cars, I think, still submits a ton of cards.
Yep.
So like you start adding up all these little regional pockets where this dealer and that dealer and that dealer. Well, even if the dealer's like, oh, I only send in like a couple hundred cards a month. Well, 100 for you, 1,000 from you, 5,000 from you, 10,000 from you. Well, how do you think we get to 1 million plus a month?
Yep.
Like, it's not the one dude, not all of us are Eric who can fund the like button and send, 150 million cards a month. Like he's on his own. Like it's just him.
I'll give a little bit more context here because being a dealer, I can see this, but on the district marketplace, which is a new selling platform, CGC has a marketplace for dealers.
Yep.
And to give you guys an idea, there is 16 registered sellers, and you have to be a dealer to be able to sell. There's 16. But keep in mind that one of them is Ivan, who runs district. Suze, who is marketing head or whatever of CGC. CGC themselves, Ivan's other account, because he has Watch the Breaks and then he has district. So 4 out of the 16 are either CGC or district associates.
Mm-hmm.
That's 12 people. Like, that's not a lot. So I really think that is what holds them back. And if you look at their Pokemon side, they do well there. They're the opposite of SGC, really. Like, SGC is crushing it in sports, but they can't crack into TCG. CGC is crushing it in Pokemon or TCG, but they can't crack it in sports. So it's funny how those two used to be together. Now they're separate and they're opposite on what their volumes are. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So let's touch on here one more before we get into kind of a main topic for a little bit. Kind of a follow-up to our discussion on the Dallas card show theft. Eric continues to claim no responsibility. We don't believe him, but he continues to claim no responsibility. So for now, that's where the investigation sits. What was that?
He hid them in the mountains.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, look, not all of us following the Dallas theft went off to our secret mountain base. I'm just throwing it out there. I think timing was very interesting, and he claimed it was for bicycling, even though I don't think he did much bicycling. I think he was just hanging around in the mountains, cackling that he got away with it, and not even the meddling
Something
kids
about Scrabble.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know. But anyway, following up on that, there was a Sports Collectors Daily article that actually came out the day after we had originally recorded it. So the timing was very good. It was right on time with what we were talking about. And they added a couple of details that kind of also played into one of the things we pointed out or that we speculated on. Because we mentioned that, the theft is one thing. That's one element of it. But the other element of it is, okay, there are some obscure cards. There's some tougher items that are not like, they don't hide as easily. Like there's some of those other items, they could be obscured into the group, into the masses. But something like that Venezuelan card, high grade Venezuelan, that sticks out like a sore thumb in a lot of regular conventional markets. Like if people know what they're looking at, they're like, wait a minute, there's not that many of them floating around. Is that the thing from the thing? That would set off a few alarm bells. And I'll link to this article in the description so you guys can check it out. But I'll read you a couple of quick excerpts here. And this one particularly kind of plays into one of the things we talked about. Collectibles are usually popular targets for thieves who can mix in with the crowd if they enter a coordinated plan they've used to steal other items in the past, referring to the Dallas thing. Often they know they can sell cards, memorabilia, and other valuable collectibles to people most collectors don't know. So Hayes, the person they were interviewing here, says those thefts are often motivated by a vast underground market of wealthy collectors who value the prestige of possessing rare items. So that's what we're talking about. If we speculated, they have a buyer who may not care as much, and I'll read the rest of this here. Those buyers don't care where their next good deal comes from, which is almost verbatim one of the points that we made here. So long as they can be assured the items are genuine provenance, they are unconcerned with the legality of the acquisition, Hayes stated. In fact, these collectors are often willing to pay exponentially more to acquire these items rather than navigating legal sales and auction protocols. Usually, even an individual thief will be working within a network connected to such collectors. So again, it's speculation, but it speaks to the idea of a black market for somebody who just wants the thing. They're willing to pay for it, and they're not going to ask any questions about where it came from. Really, they don't care. And it just comes down to, as long as you get me the genuine article, I pay the freight. And then something like that, that's where something like the Venezuelan could disappear. The more obscure ones could disappear, because at that point, who's going to report it? And it's not going to appear in any of the regular places. It's not going to appear in an auction. It's not going to appear like on an eBay listing. It's not going to suddenly randomly show up at a show or at a high-end dealer's, place where they're going to look at it and go, wait a minute, wasn't one of these, taken, a couple of weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. So if it goes into that kind of place, it basically goes into a black hole. It just kind of vanishes.
We talked about this a little bit, I think again on Friday, and I brought up and kind of compared it to art heists and what happens with high-priced art. And I mentioned that here in Massachusetts, we had probably the most notorious art heist in history with the Isabella Gardner Museum art heist. That was back in the 1990s, and we have not had a sniff of those priceless paintings in 30 something years. And I mean, the FBI, Interpol, Scotland Yard, the FBI, you name it, they have been looking for these paintings all over the world. Not a sniff. So there are underground dealers in antiquities and art and even sports cards. The question is, did these thieves do this on their own to then say, we'll sell them after? Or did they already have someone lined up or a group lined up? These are high-end things worth $2 million. It has got, I'm sure for $2 million, it has gotten the attention of the FBI. I'm sure it's been brought to their, I'm not saying they're running out the front door trying to find sports cards, but I'm sure it's been brought to their attention. It's curious of whether or not it was just a bunch of guys that said, hey, let's go down to the National and scope things out. Not the National, I'm sorry, the Dallas show, and scope things out and see what we come up with. And hey, there's a mark. Let's do, what we usually do and get that case. Or were they sent there by somebody to get that case? You know what I'm saying? So we may never find out, but with their faces, with, all over the place, I just still think they're going to get caught. We have with the Gardner Museum heist, there was no video taken. We don't know what they look like.
I think the interesting part is with the video, and there's been like lots of different video of them paying to get into the show and all this other stuff. What gets me is, and to your point, like, did they do this with a buyer already in hand, or did they do it to then try to sell after? My question that I have is, how familiar were they even with sports cards? Now, one could say, well, they stole $2 million. They must have known what they were stolen. But if they were scoping out the show and just looking at sticker prices, or who doesn't really know what a 52 manual is, right? That's pretty easily identifiable. Hey, there's a lot of money right there, But if they're involved in cards, how in the hell is nobody recognized or said, oh, that's Joe Schmo and that's his buddy, whomever?
I brought that up the other day. I predicted that they would have been caught by Saturday. So I'm already 2 days off from my prediction, because I figured this was open and shut. We got the faces. People are going to say, hey, that's so-and-so, and that's so. And it's a $7,000 reward. I mean,
right.
You're going to out somebody for 70 grand. I'm shocked they haven't been caught yet.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
go.
the
I'm gonna
thing
go
that
on
gets
record.
me.
I'm gonna go on record that I'm not, because I figure all you got to do is people. Number one, are not observant. They could literally be standing beside somebody at Wendy's and they wouldn't have a damn clue. And then number two, most of the people inside of this circle that are actually looking at these things again. There are people at that show that could have been standing beside these guys for hours and wouldn't be able to pick them out of a lineup if you gave them 100 years. They just wouldn't be able to.
Well,
And
I don't necessarily mean people from the show picking them out.
yeah,
I'm saying like if they're inside, if they are a part of the hobby, how is there not people out there? Like we see how shit gets spread around of, did you see what so and so did? You see people talk, and
yeah.
if they have a circle at all in this hobby, how
Right.
is their name not even been peeped out there? That's my
Listen,
point of
sports
it.
card therapist is not talking to anyone about anything. All right,
Oh,
he's
boy.
not saying nothing about nothing. He's not saying nothing about nothing.
Nothing about nothing.
He probably should say something about something, but he's saying nothing about nothing.
Yeah, probably should.
I had to do it. Like I had to, since you brought up, it's like, why has no one talked about this? It's like, listen, the man is not talking about anything. What do you want? He's gone silent. He's a mute. The thing though is that I think your points are reasonable. The only reason I kind of poke fun at it a little bit is that I think people underestimate you. You're right. If they're in the hobby, but I really do think we underestimate even as niche as it is, how many people can just kind of wander in and out. Like people can literally wander unless you make like a spectacle of yourself or you particularly stand out as notable. You could be in and around the hobby. You could be in the vicinity and still kind of be anonymous. You could just kind of exist. You don't have to be, sticking yourself out there that far or have that much of a circle. You don't really need to participate in too many areas. Like I talk about it all the time. We do this. I have fun with the YouTube channel and everything, but I spent most of my collecting career being predominantly just going to shows and doing stuff pretty anonymously. I had my small circle.
I don't think
of
they're
people
collecting honestly.
No,
I think
but
they got
the
other
thing is,
things on their plate.
no, but the point that I'm making is that I was at all those shows for many years, and unless you were somebody I was dealing with consistently, you wouldn't be able to pick me out of a lineup. Like, there's so many people like that, and by the way, they're participating, they're in. But it's like, guys, we can go on eBay and do the. I don't think they're collectors. That's not their. They had an objective while they were there. They're not sitting there buying cards and then, hey, by the way, while we're here, let's go get a cake. No, they're probably just guys like, hey, there's a bunch of cards here that are expensive. Let's steal some stuff. Okay, so it's like, yeah, try to go look at them at the next show. They're probably not there.
Yeah, that was my thinking. Like they were probably locals. Seen what, or there's a hotel right there. Maybe they were passing through. Said, "Oh shit, there's a card show at the hotel. We know how to do this,
and it's easier to get out of range."
Scope it out.
And I said it in jest to kind of, I don't remember if it was on the live or just separate from it, but I said to kind of Eric and Jess, it's like the easiest thing in the world to do would be that there is no nationwide manhunt for these guys. It's like, we have to remember that. Like no one is sitting there scouring door to door. The guys could literally be hanging out across the street from it in somebody's house or down the road and just be like, yeah, just send Uber for food and stuff, and we'll just hang out here for a couple of weeks and then just casually walk out the door. Nobody's looking for you. Like they're not canvassing the vicinity or whatever. They've got a reward, they've got some images, but if these guys in a couple of weeks just randomly walked over, got into an airport, got in a bus and went away, like who would know?
Well, just to spin off that real quick and not to go in too deep, because I know you haven't got to watch the video, but there has been another video surface. We kind of touched on it a little bit. There was another theft at the Dallas Card Show, and
the epicenter of thievery. The epicenter of thievery
makes me.
Yeah,
and this one is sadder.
Yeah, this one was I'm gonna call him a kid. If I had to gauge the age, 12 to 14-ish, maybe.
I prefer using the
12 or
technical
13.
term young miscreant.
But was doing a deal with a dealer who had a camera and was actually vlogging being a dealer there, and I guess the kid didn't notice the camera or didn't think it was recording. I don't know. And proceeded to hand a stack of cards to the dealer, who was then proceeding to look through the cards to make a deal with the kid. And meanwhile, the kid decides to steal cards out of a binder, totaling, I think, roughly $500. So, this camera footage was much clearer. It was close, HD, and you could tell the look on the kid's face after a deal had been made, because the kid was even ballsy enough to buy some cards off the guy. Anyway, Eric's right though. When I seen that one last night, I almost was more shocked, and I know Ashish, like, so that one kind of hit me when I seen, he got his stuff stolen, but it was like, damn, a kid is out here even swiping Pokemon. So, anyway, if anybody wants to go check it out, the channel is, I'm gonna mispronounce the name. It's like Gengaris Collectibles or something like that. It's a Pokemon channel.
We know only the Pokemans.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pokemans.
I don't know what a Pokemon is. I think you mispronounced it.
But
I probably mispronounced the YouTube channel name and everything, but
yeah. But truthfully, you are right but it does also kind of play into what we talked about in the last week's video, in last week's discussion as well. Unfortunately, so in this case, we've got 2 documented thefts, and I can promise you, there's probably dozens of little ones. Somebody pilfered a $5 card, a $10 card. But again, most of those will go under the radar. Nobody's sitting there, crying bloody murder about it. In this case, it was a situation where the footage was caught. So you caught it. And then this case, and we also have the multi-million-dollar big elaborate one that was the subject of much conversation.
Right.
But if it's not something like that, like so many of those things go under the radar, it will be interesting to see if at the National, I will say I credited Simon466 Cards on the weekend for a video that he did on the Becca thing. But he also did a recent video this week, I think, or late last week, or maybe on the weekend. But anyway, he did a video where he talked about the unintended consequences of the change in policy of the National, where they're going to give less dealer passes. Well, one of the unintended consequences, which I think is a valid point, is that having less dealer passes means there's going to be less people behind the table who are allowed to be there. In turn, you're going to have these big dealer setups where, depending on what the situation is, you can get more badges as you get a bigger and bigger booth. But if even a couple of people are away, you're going to be operating a little bit shorthanded. You're going to have to try to have your head on a swivel and try to keep an eye on whatever merchandise is sitting on your table, because you may have less hands available and less eyes available to kind of scan and keep an eye on. So you're going some of those dealers are going to have to be a little bit more careful. They may be a little bit shorthanded compared to their norm.
The flip side to that is maybe they are careful, but that takes away from the buyer experience, because, all right, I can only have 2 people working my table. Well, we're not gonna do value boxes. So now the consumer, the buyer, the collector doesn't get to go plunder through value boxes, because there's nobody there to watch to make sure, $300 out of the value box isn't stolen. Then you look at it that way. Okay, it's all showcases. Well, now you got, a bunch of stuff. Well, you're just going to have to wait, and you're going to have to deal with people one at a time. Well, then you're standing there and wasting an hour and a half of your day to be the next person in line to get to see that card that you may not like the price of. So there's consequences that can negatively affect the buyer experience as well, all because people want to be assholes. So
it is true. It is true. But that's why I say sometimes with stuff like that, yeah, there are unintended consequences to it. Unfortunately, it is more common than I think people would want to believe. Again, you're just getting to see it more. That's really the biggest difference. Is now it's been showcased. We get to see more. We joked about before we started. We talked about the difference that social media makes in a lot of this, and without getting too deep into it, to keep it high level and really simple, I think it's changed behaviors for sure. But my opinion is that it's also kind of exposed what was already there, because all you did was add a camera. you showed, people have done dumb things for forever. People have been stealing things since forever. The difference is now you can see it more. Now you can be like, oh, look at what this person's doing. And you've got a camera. You've got a camera standing with you. So many people have a camera in their pocket. And in 4 seconds, you can be showcasing. Whereas before, you could have told people, but it's like, oh, really? That didn't happen. Well, now you can be like, here it is. Here's a little portable screen, and I can show you, in living color, exactly what happened. And lots of people will see a lot of things, and they can showcase it on their camera. And all of a sudden, you think, oh, that must be more prevalent than before. Not necessarily. It might be exactly the same, but now you're seeing it more. That's the only thing changed.
You hit the nail on the head, and I don't want to get into the deeper side of the things, but the event that happened over the weekend, what amazed me was, while what was going on, the amount of people that, instead of ensuring their safety, were,
wasn't it crazy,
with the phones. Like, I was like, are you freaking
right?
Are you shitting me right now? Like,
and the professional photographers, if
they were snaps,
look,
and
the professional photographers didn't flinch. They just kept taking shots. And then you have all the, the civilians there with the cameras up.
Yep.
And it's
I couldn't believe that. I was like, holy shit.
Had that one dad who did the dad thing and jumped on his family and ended up losing his life. But he wasn't playing with his phone. He knew what to do. He threw his kids down and his wife down and got on top of them, and it cost him his life. But that's what he would have wanted and did want. He wasn't standing around in this.
I wasn't trying to bring the whole
but it's
like
crazy.
What happened up, but the camera thing was like, it was. If you want to see obvious the status of society today and social media and all of that, and the camera, just go watch the replay of that, and the amount of people that like had their phones and stuff. It was crazy.
I agree.
Well, that's kind of the
things I noticed right away too. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that noticed it.
Oh yeah,
I was just like, these people are crazy. The society is crazy, because no matter where you are or what event is happening, that's what they do. They grab their phones and start doing this. It's nuts. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that's the extreme end of it, unfortunately. So
yeah,
like I said, we'll move on, because for the most part, we wanted to just kind of keep it to that section of it. But it's accurate, and it's something that I think people have to kind of evaluate their relationship with their social media and with the technology. And I love technology, but it's sitting there like, I think you guys sometimes need to put it down. There's a time and a place. Like, chill out on that a little bit. Well, unless you're watching this, in which case, keep the phone up. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. You're doing great.
See, usually I had to make a comment, but
no, you be quiet.
5%.
You keep watching and you hit the like button. You do that. Do it for the engagement. Do it for the algorithm. Get on with it.
Whatever. Sure.
Anyway, all right. So real quick, I wanted to touch on something since we brought it up. So we'll do it kind of quick, because there's a couple of things we can do into it, but it's pretty straightforward. But Neo had a video that was talking about it. It was kind of funny. We had a little fun with it, but also, so the video is called Hobby Burnout, Fatigue, Boredom, Anyone Else Feeling It? So there's a lot of directions we can take on this, and we've touched on elements of this over time. So I will include a link in the description so you can check out the video if you want. And really, Neo's thesis really came down to how he was feeling going into the National, where, and like I said, you can check out the video to get the specifics. But what he was thinking about going into it, where he was going to the National. He had been very successful at the most recent comic book show that he went to, got a grail for himself. So that piece was good. But he was in a situation where he didn't have anything specific he was targeting for the National. So it was kind of leaving him in kind of this little mini limbo. It was kind of like, okay, where are you at? And the title is just posing the question. So is it a kind of a burnout, a fatigue thing, a boredom thing? Like, these are just slightly different things. They can have a similar kind of feeling to them, but they're not the same. A burnout is one specific thing. Fatigue, again, could be very similar. There could be a similarity to it. And even a boredom can be something else. There's different kind of cures for each one of these things, or different causes for each one of these things. They're all a little bit different. So it just kind of depends. So I'll quickly hit 1 or 2 points, and then I'll open it up to Brandon and Eric if they want to take a stab at it. But one thing that I found has been very interesting, we've talked about it before, is I understand the idea of burnout. And burnout's a real thing. It 100% is. But I think what has always helped me over a long period of time is, and we were talking about it before we started, is the idea of kind of the sprinting versus kind of a more marathon level approach. But there are waves. There are always waves in everything. But that card that I talked about earlier, where I way overspent on like a 10-cent card because it comes up only once in a blue moon, I have more enthusiasm for that coming across my desk than a lot of other stuff that I'll pick up. And it's not because the card is super rare necessarily, it's just obscure. It's not because it's super expensive, because I definitely have more expensive cards that I bought even in recent times. The point was, it had been something that I've been targeting for so long that when the checklist is that small and I actually get to scratch something off of it, that's kind of an exciting day in the collection wise. And it's those moments where I'm able to scratch something off of a tough checklist that I'm chasing after that add a little wind to the sails. That has always kept it interesting. And also, if I get bored of a specific project, which is real, you can also get bored of a project. I've got a couple of other little projects, so I kind of shift back and forth. In this case, I got that Modano card. I've got the Dennis PC, and I've been finding some stuff for that. That's been great. I've got the Chosen Rosen thing where I joke about it all the time, but once in a blue moon, I'll see a card. Oh, that's kind of a cool card. Can I get that one for a cheap price? If I can get one for a cheap price, I'll pick it up. Do I have to? No. But if I see something that's kind of fun, then I try to grab it and see if I can add to it. Because I've always got these little different things going on. There's always something to keep it a little bit fresh, even though it's been the same general pillar of collecting. And the other one that I would talk about is after the boom and everything, there were a lot of people that were in consumption mode, and it was like buy. We kind of desensitized ourselves to stuff where it's like, because stuff's coming in all the time, nothing is special, when it's just like an avalanche. Because as soon as you get something in, it's like as soon as it comes in, the next thing. That's how you burn yourself out, because you're basically on a full sprint and you just keep going until you just run out of gas, and then you're stuck. So thoughts. I just want to open it up.
I actually brought this topic up before we came on because I thought it was a good topic. I listened to the video of his. You mentioned his recent pickup at the comic convention he went to.
Yeah.
And first of all, Neo has admitted it's been a long time ago. I couldn't quote like which video it was or nothing, but he has said before that comics are his passion. He collects certain things like his Indians, his Manny Ramirez's and things like that. He has little things that he likes in cards, but his passion is more comics. And he even brought up, would it be crazy for me to try to go to the San Diego Comic Con, for a couple of days before hitting the National, because you could tell like it was a last minute thing, but you could tell he was kind of really wanting maybe to hit that, and he maybe felt guilty if he did that instead of going to the National. But Neo's passion is comics. He is a more card focused, I guess. He does a little bit of comic content, but he's more, he does a lot more card content, but his passion is comics. So saying that he doesn't have a plan or like he feels burnt out or whatever, he's also one that when he started his channel up, it was the Luka Doncics and the Zions and the Ja Morants and all of that, and he was chasing all of the basketball stuff, and he was into it in more of, I don't want to throw the investor term out there, but
he was flipping.
Flipper,
he was very much the game.
Yeah.
The game. So, and I also want to add flavor to this. The game of the flipping is
Right.
predominantly what he was interested in, because to him, it was a game. It was like, I can take this item, I can then flip this item, get this other item, make this deal. It was the art of the deal. It was the flipping and the art of the deal, which was what made it interesting for him. And then as he was able to accumulate these hobby funds, it then allowed him to purchase other items that might be more PC. Yes.
And he had mentioned like a couple things like the LeBron refractors that he's looked at. And keep in mind, those cards aren't rare. The rarity to them are whatever the amount that they go for now. So it goes back into that conversation we've had before. So it was an interesting piece because I've kind of touched on where I've rewound myself back in my collecting. I haven't stopped the hobby. I haven't been burned out. I just needed to rewind. I needed to hit the pause button on all of the craziness and just get back into what was exciting, like what I appreciated the most, I guess you should say. What brought I kind of said it earlier. There's a difference between fun and I guess excitement, and what was exciting to me and not just fun. Um, and that's back where I'm at. And you know, it when you connect with this stuff, you get an even more larger appreciation for it. It's getting excited over a guy in a sweatshirt on a sports card that you finally found and paid $20 for. There's a
A
connection there.
fancy sweatshirt, very
Yeah,
fancy. Roots, very fancy.
a weathered sweatshirt.
Yes,
You
no,
know,
let's get it right. You know,
yeah. So when you're chasing everything and just trying to find the next thing to flip, it's very easy to start telling yourself that you're getting burned out. I do reselling now, and you can go into, and I've actually been thinking about this recently. You talked about the flip, the game of the flip, the exciting part of the flip. That's all reselling is. I go to sales. I hunt like yard sales or estate sales or wherever, thrift stores, to find an item at a very low cost that I can flip for profits, right? And in that game, there's a lot higher margins than in the card game, which is why I don't really list and sell a lot of cards anymore, because I use that time available to listing other things. So I learned that. And that now allows me to appreciate the cards even more, back to my hobby, my collecting, and not worrying about selling the cards all the time. I can buy a card with the intention and the appreciation to sit it here, and it is my collection. I don't care the value and all that crap, whether it's going up or down. I bought it because I wanted it, right? So I do think that, and I'm not going to specifically say Neo or use him as the example. I think overall we're seeing a lot more of that. The flipping of cards isn't like it was, but the buying there is still, it's you see people buying the wax and everything else, the breaks and all that. But that flip part isn't the same. And I think that's where a lot of people are starting to kind of reel back in and be like, all right, I don't want to flip as much. I do want to build some sort of a collection. And they may be experiencing the burnout of the flip.
yeah, it could be. And Eric, I'll go to you to chime in on this as well in a second. But one other thing I'll add that kind of plays into Neo's video as well was the idea that yes, you can get burned out on the flip. That's true. You can get burned out on anything really if it's just repetitive and it becomes, but basically generic enough and just repetitive enough, because then it loses a lot of its excitement. It loses a lot. Yeah, it becomes disinteresting, and then it's hard to kind of maintain. But one thing that I think played into part of the scenarios talking about, obviously he had his big thing with the comic book. He does collect certain types of cards, but I think part of it for him, it was almost, I think I would use the word malaise. See, we're adding words as we go along here. But I think malaise, though, works here because it's not that he wouldn't buy anything at the National, or it's not that he's not. I think he's looking forward to more meeting up with certain people, like that aspect of it. The networking piece will be good for him, I think. But in terms of things that because there's nothing specifically to target, it becomes this, kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of dealers, there's a lot of cards out here. And maybe I'll come across something and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. And it'll hit you in that moment.
And to just add this piece to it, because you mentioned the content side of it.
Yeah.
He's going to feel that I need to buy something so I can do a pickup video or something like that, because content creators do that. They want to do day one pickups, day two pickups, because they can use that, or viewers expect that. Oh, what did you buy at the National? Blah, blah, blah. And if he's not got anything on his radar? Because let's be honest, again, I'm sure he would admit it. Comics are his passion, and that comic book he got, that's a legit grail. Like,
Yeah.
that's a legit grail, especially for him loving the X-Men and everything.
Yeah.
That was a legit piece.
Yeah, I think it was the X-Men #1, right? It was the origin issue. It was the first one.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
But I know it was a very significant piece for someone who is passionate about X-Men and passionate about comics like he is. I don't think there is a damn card at the National that he could buy that would give him the same excitement or accomplishment, the feeling, any of that, as that comic book pickup. And I think we know how it is when you buy a piece like that, and that was recent. He shouldn't go to the National and feel pressured or like he needs to buy something. You know, he mentioned buying the wax too, and Fanatics has screwed the pooch on that. But I think he should just go and enjoy it and not worry about buying anything if there's nothing he wants to buy, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I know a few people that I've had on the channel that I've chatted with that one of the source of pride is they like to go to car shows and not buy anything.
Andy.
Yeah, it's such a long running joke, but anyway. So Eric, just there's a couple of other quick things that I want to touch on, but any thoughts just in general terms on this?
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said, so I don't want to rehash that. Some other ways of thinking about it is, one, and this has been discussed, I think, every single summer in the history of collecting, is that collecting is down in the summer. People's mind goes elsewhere. People's dollars go elsewhere. You get out of the house. Collecting is more of an in-the-house thing. And it also depends on the sports seasons, right? If you're a basketball or hockey or football collector, you're not really in the mood to collect things right now because there's nothing on the TV or the advertisements on TV constantly putting that into your head. So sometimes you get away from that in the summertime. The other thing is people have multiple interests. I have multiple interests, right? I'm huge into cycling. Well, when I'm healthy, it's been a few years since I actually was, I wasn't collecting as much because if I had a free dollar or a free moment, I was on my bike at year round. We bike in the freezing cold winter. We bike in the super hot summer. It doesn't matter. We have different bikes for different seasons, and all that stuff costs money. So I can't go out and spend hundreds of dollars on sports cards when I have to spend hundreds of dollars at the bike shop. I was into archery for a handful of years where I was competing every Sunday. Arrows are like, $20 an arrow when they're carbon fiber. Bows are
$20 an arrow.
Yeah.
That's like a Roots sweater Modano.
Yeah, I know.
Good Lord, man.
So, bows are $1,000 and up, it gets crazy. So guess what? When I was into archery for a few years and I was competing, I wasn't collecting as much. So people have different interests and go through different phases in life. And I think that's a good thing because when you come back to something, you enjoy it that much more. When I never left collecting, but it had its ebb and flow. And when I've come back to it after just kind of taking a pause, I enjoyed it so much more. Just like if I started, shooting again, I'd enjoy that so much more.
Yep.
I know I went biking for this weekend, and it was unbelievable to be back out on my bike after taking so much time off due to injury. So, people have different interests, and it's good because if you keep moving around your interests, you won't get burned out on the things that you like.
Yeah, that part I definitely agree with. Now everybody's going to have a different approach on how they can switch up the interest. You can go into different categories like that. I've always I always found it easy for me to switch projects. That's always worked for me. But everybody's got to figure out their own way, like whatever their version of it is. I've got enough variety in the stuff that I work on that I never feel like I'm getting stuck in one lane for too long.
Yeah.
So that and if I find it's a little uninteresting or I'm not finding anything to it, which was one of the points that I think Neil was getting at, that he didn't have anything specific to target. At this point, when I go to the expo, I don't have anything specific to target. I know that if I see an interesting Modano card, I'll probably pick it up. But it's kind of like I know it when I see it. You know, now that the Roots sweater card is off the table, like I don't even know what I'm going to find anymore. Like if we're done, it's over, Brandon. Like it's over. We're done.
So just sell everything, start again.
Yeah, maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the key. But no, when I go now, it's very much, and it'll be fun because I'll bring my budget and everything with it. It should be good. I've got enough time between now and the summer until the fall to put together a little budget for it. It should be a good time. I know we'll go out and have dinner a couple of times. I think since it's this fall, I think Eric will be coming up, so we'll throw mayonnaise at him. It'll be very exciting. So we've got activities prepared, Brandon. Like we're set. So from that regard, it should be no problem.
To just touch on it too, I think the hobby in general, maybe there's been some lessons learned because of the severity of the spike and then decline. Maybe there's been patience learned in some aspects. We've been hearing rumblings of how the 90s stuff has been picking back up again. And I think there for a while, there was so many people rushing out, like, the Lucas and all that, like I mentioned earlier, and buying up the guys that, like, as soon as they were released, you got to have the new rookie and everything else. And I think maybe, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying maybe some of it people have started to learn to pace, or not had that FOMO of needing the guy as soon as his rookie's released, or not needing all of them, or trying to get all of them, or whatever. Just speaking upon myself, you guys would let me not let me give accurate information here. I don't want to mislead anybody. Let's see.
That's only something an ass would do.
Wow.
So I have not.
You have not.
I have not purchased a Jason Robertson since October of 2023. That would probably shock some people. But
the end is nigh.
I have the Young Guns, I have the Cup, I have the green PMG and the 2 reds, I have the SP, Authentic Future Watch. The ones that I don't have are the miscellaneous, right? And there was no need to just keep buying. Yeah, exactly. So now I can go back and pick up the pieces, right?
Yeah, so you can go get the exact same Jason Robertson, but like encrust them in diamonds or like infuse them with gold.
Yeah.
That can be very exciting. But what I'm hearing, Eric, is that the end is nigh and only the righteous will be spared.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. That sounds to me like a sign of the apocalypse. Like, to me, like when Brandon is not buying Jason Robinson cards, like, that's like me not being a man of peace. That's very terrifying.
This year. I bought more cards this year already than I did all of last year. They've been nationals. Actually, all of them but 2 have been Washington Nationals cards. So that may shock some folks.
I am shocked and mortified. Not only shocked, but shocked and mortified.
We always say, collect what you like, but you have an obligation to the fan base and to for our entertainment purposes to buy Jason Robertson cards.
No, go back to what you first said. We always say collect.
Yeah.
But you didn't say buy what you like. I'm collecting Jason Robertson. I just said I haven't been buying
Oh, you've been
Jason
stealing.
Robertson.
Oh, all right. You've been stealing them. Okay. Okay.
And no, not that
It's
either.
five finger discount. Look, and what Eric means, look, Eric's trying to beat around the bush. What he means is hoard what you like a hoard, like bring. The
I do
hoard.
need. This has been I know this is towards the tail end. I don't know how many people will make it here to give me hell about this, but this has awoken my eyes because I didn't realize it had been that long.
Uh-oh.
The last Jason Robertson I got.
Kids.
Somewhere off of this is J. Rob is like, why have you forsaken me, old man?
The last Jason Robertson that I have received was included with this.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You deserve this on a card.
You deserve this piece of garbage.
You ruined me, Eric.
I was gonna say, like, what the hell happened there? Like, that right there is a bombshell, Eric. That's an exploration that will come another day. Like, now we have to get to the bottom of this mystery.
Do you want to know about cards that are complete trash and that are just ridiculous? The card I sent him, that should be what he shows at the beginning of next week's show.
I have it in the box back here.
Yeah,
complete utter trash.
So now you can look forward to. We'll try to incorporate a couple little segments to have a little bit of fun with it next week. So to give everybody a heads up, next week we'll touch on the national a little bit more thoroughly. We'll throw a couple things in there. I want to see if we don't make it for Friday, then maybe for next week we'll see. Like I want to do comfortable shoe power rankings. Like I just think it's the right look. Everybody keeps talking about the comfortable shoes, but who does power rankings? Brandon, anybody done power rankings in the comfortable shoes? I think not.
I'll tell you the ones not to buy.
There you go. But I think my point is that we are missing that hashtag scholarship.
Yeah.
We need power rankings.
Yeah, that might be a viral video.
Like amazing.
That's Friday night.
Shit, we might could get like AMG and then how many different shoe companies? We might get sponsors from shoe companies.
Oh, not after what I say. No.
Listen, I could use a couple more. Listen, they've got the Jordans, like Nike has the Jordans, but what they've started doing is on some of the models they have what they call the Comfort series. I actually have Jordan 11s that are the Comfort version because basically they changed up the sole. It's actually very nice. They're excellent walking shoes. I gotta be 100%, like they're actually very good, very good. So if you want to give me the Comfort version of them, I'm in, man. Let's do it. I think those are solid. I co-sign. That wouldn't necessarily be one I pick for my power ranking, but the point is they're the Comfort version, so they are a lot nicer for walking. So I would just throw that out there. But yes, we'll see if we can cobble together something lovely, either on Friday or in the next episode, and we'll try to incorporate a couple little segments because it is kind of fun to have a little bit more of an interactive element because we can't just rely on the news. Kenny, yet another week where Kenny continues to disappoint us by not lighting himself on fire. Yet another week. Once again, we are in the middle of August in the year 2024 of our Lord, and yet he once again fails us. So we can't rely on him. We have to do our own. We have to do our own work and our own diligence. So we will do that. We'll do it on our own. Brandon, we're doing it ourselves. We're not going to wait on this man anymore. We got to do it ourselves. So that's it.
Hell yeah.
All right. So that's it for this one. Thank you all for checking this one out. If you did check it towards the end, well, then give Brandon hell. And also let us know if the end is nigh, because if he's not buying Jason Robertson and pumping it, like, what are we even doing here? Like, I don't even understand what this hobby is anymore.
I might just have to try to get some in the mail. Well, I'll see what I can do. We got to
get on with it.
This is what's wrong with the freaking hobby and how I feel it. It's all my fault.
Yep. You ruining everything. Literally ruining everything. But yes. So that's it. So Eric Sanderson or on Instagram, you can send him all hate mail and critiques and everything. He loves it. You can also hit the like button, so I invoice him. So you've got that going for you. So that's great. You got Brandon, Baubles and Ball Cards, and a known associate of 540 Flips. So both of these things are true and something that you want to be bearing in mind of. So be aware of that. Guy knows a couple of people in those connections and some shady water, some shady areas. As far as I'm aware, I'm not completely convinced that 540 Flips doesn't know exactly where the Dallas Heist items are.
Oh, if anyone stole them, that's the guy.
Look, all I'm going to say is, for all of your collective, right at the end of this episode, I want you to think about this. I'm going to leave you with this thought. One of us last Friday was in their secret mountain chalet. One of us is a known associate of a 540 flipper, and one of us is a man of peace. I'm just saying.
Shit's getting real.
I got concerns, and I think I know where to look for this. I think I know where the first place that I would start is. So I'll leave you all with that. So on Fridays, back with other videos on the channel. Friday live streams, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The longest running episodic, whatever it is. Someday we'll figure it out. Another mystery we got to solve in the hobby. Maybe someday. Who knows? And, and maybe comfortable shoe power rankings. And we'll do some kind of national-ish, theme stuff for the next episode for sure. If you got any ideas or any thoughts or any questions, again, none of us are attending the national. None of us. So, but if you want to ask questions related to it, we can totally still answer them, Brandon. We can totally still answer them even though, it doesn't matter. We don't care. There. Yeah, he has been there before, so that's fine. We can still answer them as if, so that's fine by me. Anyway, so that's it for this one, episode 85. Thank you for checking this one out. Thank you to AMG Collectibles, amgcollectibles.ca, and the AMG Collectibles YouTube channel for supporting the podcast and the channel. That's it for us. We're out. We'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.